you're walking into as an athlete. You just got to roll with it.
Yeah, deal with it. Adapt and overcome.
Right?
Welcome to another episode of Put the Ball Down. Haven't done it in a while. I have different colored hair. So do you.
I feel like I'm the oddball out here. Like I was saying before we started, like had I known, I would have did some color or something. I would have got like something cool. I don't know. I don't even know what.
Maybe we'll get some spray from Walgreens and we'll shoot again.
Maybe. I got the hair down though, so no one's got like textbook hair today.
No, not at all. So Corey couldn't be here today. He's got a lot of stuff going on. You guys will hear about it next time he comes on because I don't want to give away his secrets. So we have Bino. You guys probably saw him from the Bino Salazar Jamcast.
And I don't have anything cool going on. That's why I'm here. I was laying in bed and Norm's like, hey, I ain't doing nothing. So just get out of the house. I'm just playing.
Yeah. So I kind of forced him to come here.
It's all good.
But today, pretty cool guest, a badass, a beast. I've seen her in person. Makes some girls look really, 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 really weak. Kris Dorus. What's up, Kris?
Not a whole lot.
So I met Kris working at the high school. And from day one, I can tell the passion that she had for all sorts of combat sports and just being a regular badass on the daily.
Definite badass. I just met you today and we were talking a little bit earlier. Walking in the door and meeting you, serious policewoman vibes.
She does.
Walking in the door.
Very,
I'm
very
like,
hard.
I didn't even know much about you. I'm like, she's either undercover and I got to watch my P's and Q's. She just looks like she's got it figured out. She's chill. She's like, I've been in this situation many times. She got a sense of calm about you. Is that because you do jujitsu? Is that why you have that confidence?
I think so. I wasn't always this calm.
Really? So, we were talking a little bit before and you talked about the transition before, who you were before. Wow. We got to go there.
Yeah. So go on that.
Yeah. So like where you were before and then where you are now. And you said how long you've been doing jiu-jitsu now?
It's been about 4 years that I've been training. Do you want me to say why I started?
Just let it happen.
Just talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I signed my son up. He was bullied really bad in kindergarten. And he's like my husband, super like, take it till you burst. And then my younger one is like me, where you just don't deal with it and you put an end to it. And so I signed him up for jiu-jitsu against what my husband wanted. I signed a contract, said he's training. My husband had to take him because I worked nights teaching swimming. And he kept watching. And then one day he comes home and I'm on the ladder painting like the staircase, like the wall above the staircase. And he's like, oh, I signed up. I was like, you what? He's like, yeah, I signed up. I'm doing jiu-jitsu now. I was like, oh, are you? I was like, you weren't happy about it. I'm like, okay. So then he goes to class for about a week and he comes home and he's like, you should come and watch. He's like, I watched the kid. Like, I don't need to go watch. He's like, yeah, come watch. You might like it. So I go and I have like the acrylic long nails. My hair's like to the T, makeup.
What type of hairstyle did you have? Because I suspect it wasn't.
It'd be like this,
The watermelon.
or I'd like wave. I didn't have like crazy colors,
Okay.
just blonde. And so I go and I'm sitting there watching and class ends. And he gets up and he's like, you wouldn't be able to handle this. And I was like, I what? He's like, yeah, this is too hard for you. I was like, okay. We go up to the desk and I'm like, sign me up. He's paying. And he's like, what? So then I go, they're like, you got to take the nails off. You can't have any of that. When you train, you can't have jewelry. You can't have long nails. And so I'm like, all right, give me like a week and then I'll be in. So going to class and super awkward as always. And I ended up like catching on to it real quick. It was like second nature for me. 3 months in, my son, my younger one, wanted to try. So we put him in, and by 3 months, I was on the comp mats. It was like overnight. Just
So what's the comp mats for the uneducated?
Like me.
Yeah.
so going into a competition, those are the comp mats.
Also, they separate the
So
people who are
you-
competing.
Like, so you go to a venue for the competitions,
Okay.
like the one that you went to.
Okay.
So I went from just training for 3 months, and then my husband was like, "You need to sign up to compete." I was like, "Are you nuts? It's been 3 months." And then all the coaches got on me. They were like, "You should sign up." So I did.
That seems rather quick.
I
To
thought it
compete.
was.
3 months?
With the people that run the facility over there, how long do they say it typically takes?
I never asked.
You just said, this is just what I do.
And they were like, "You should do it. You do well." And I'm like, "You guys are crazy." Like
Wow.
3 months in, I don't know. And I honestly don't remember what I placed. I did place at that one. And my boys were there watching. So
So you said earlier that you don't remember what it was like before. So this happened and it just, I mean, it sounds like it's such a big part of your life now.
it is.
Really?
Everything I do is revolving around strength training, jiu-jitsu, and then Muay Thai. My job is solely based on whether I can make it to training and still be a mom.
Wow. That's a huge shift. Because, we have children. You know, when you become a parent, it immediately puts you in a position to be like, I'm not the most important person on the planet anymore. You know? And so, like, then you, in that process, and I think we talked about this before, you lose a little bit of your sense of identity when you become a parent because you feel like I live for my kids now. So then where does that leave me? Right? So if I'm doing the math here, did you say 8 and 10?
Yeah.
8 and 10, and then 4 years ago jiu-jitsu. So they were like 4 and 6, somewhere in there. So you're probably in that range where you're like, what about me?
So actually, in 2016, I lost twins.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And I gained like a lot of weight, and my kids both looked at me and they were like, "You don't wear shorts anymore." I gained 20, 30 pounds. And I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You don't wear a swimsuit, you don't wear shorts, you wear pants in the summer." I was like, "You're right." And so my best friend and I did keto together, and I got down 35 pounds. And then that's when the jiu-jitsu set in. And at that point, I was like, they noticed that I gained weight. They notice what I'm doing. How am I going to sit there and tell my kids, like, when something bad happens in life, you just give up?
Right. So at that time, let me ask, what were you telling them? Because they could see all that, but did you ever talk about that with them, or was it just a topic that people, sometimes that happens with your kids? We're like, we don't talk about that. Because honestly, it's commendable, your story, and you've come such a long way, but that's a heavy topic, and that's a lot. That's definitely a tough journey.
So after we told them when I was pregnant, and then I had to get 2 surgeries in the span of 7 days. And then I was told I wasn't allowed to have kids anymore because of the scar tissue, because I have to have C-sections because I have Crohn's.
Mm-hmm.
So they know, like, I've been in the hospital for my Crohn's and like how serious all of it is. And so they knew that I was pregnant. They knew that I lost 2 babies. They knew all of it. So they knew why I was sitting around, why I wasn't doing anything. And then I just looked in the mirror one day and I was like, this is not okay. Like, you don't do this and expect your kids to not.
For sure. Now, were you on the ketogenic diet before you started doing jiu-jitsu, or was it after?
It was before.
Okay, so you had already started that
Mm-hmm.
transition,
Mm-hmm.
and then that came.
Yeah, so I started jiu-jitsu, I believe it was 2019. And so I started keto maybe 4 months after I had miscarried. So I was already a couple years into doing keto.
How did you come across that? Was it a friend told you about it, or were you looking for something?
Yeah, my friend wanted to lose weight, and she was like, we'll do this together. And so we text each other what we were eating, and if we went out to eat, we'd plan like what we could eat. And
That's awesome. Did she come and do jujitsu with you?
no.
She stayed away.
She's like, you know what? We're good on this one, but I'll be over there.
Yeah, none of my friends really wanted to do it.
Really? It's interesting because when you think of these sports that are so physical, and there's, as much as we talk about jujitsu and there's a discipline to it, there is a level of controlled violence about it, right?
Yeah.
Which doesn't typically.
And she smiles as you say that.
She's like,
This is the juicy part.
Right. So it's like you don't typically think, and look, it's changing, right? A woman, like what defines a woman or a female, like it's way different. It's becoming more balanced, but you don't typically think, oh, well, females doing that? Females getting someone in an armbar or choking them unconscious? I mean,
She smiles again.
she smiles. I think that's the part about it that you're like, probably get you excited, right? But like you don't typically think that, but you know, that excitement that you get of knowing that. I watch a lot of podcasts. So one podcast I watch is Joe Rogan podcast, and he does jujitsu, and he describes jujitsu as chess, playing chess with physical consequences. Would you agree?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so you said a lot goes through your mind when you do competitions and
A
things
lot.
like that, right? So it occupies your mind, and
For weeks and weeks before I even compete.
okay. Would you say that it occupies your mind like that? Like maybe that's what you're part of what you might be grateful for, is that it like gives you a sense of purpose, you know, like occupies your mind. And so like, this is something that no one, you said your husband won't do it.
No,
Not
my
his thing?
husband does jujitsu.
He does. Okay. He does jujitsu. Okay.
And strength training with
Gotcha.
me, but he won't do Muay Thai.
Gotcha. But no one in the house is doing it the way that you're doing it. Like it sounds like it means a lot to you.
Yeah.
So it's like your thing.
I'm the only one who literally plans their life around training.
That's awesome, man. I know you could relate being an athlete yourself, Norm. Like there's, you know, no matter what you do, you're not the type that's going to sit behind a desk,
No.
right?
No. That's
Like
that's hard.
Physical activity and using your faculties in your body is something that you just have to do or you're not going to be happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've left countless office jobs because of that reason. Because there's not enough movement. It's like not enough doing, more sitting. I just can't do that.
Yeah.
No way. Could you sit behind an office desk?
Absolutely not.
Especially now. What about before? Let's talk about who you were before.
Oh yeah,
The
who
old
were you
Kris.
before?
Yeah, let's go back to that. Like I feel like we're talking about this like huge transition, which I can relate. But like, who were you before? You said you had the longer nails, you had a little more weight on you.
So when my kids were younger, I worked for my grandparents. They owned a warehouse. Again, no air conditioning, no heat. And I worked there from, I don't even know, 8th grade up until my youngest was 2. But I did work for my mom's friend who owned a gift shop. So I'd get my jewelry from there and spend my paycheck there and buy purses. And when I say buy purses, there's one that's like that big, all fur.
All fur.
You're a fur. I didn't take you as a fur purse.
And I have like fur
Person.
vests,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you like the fur.
cheetah print, everything. I
Oh,
love.
you're an
Yep.
animal print chick. Okay. We're learning about you today.
I
Yeah,
went
so
to
much.
beauty school.
You went to beauty school?
Yeah, I have a cosmetology license.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Really?
Let's, you don't normally put these things together, right? You don't put cosmetology license and I'm going to choke you out on a resume. It's pretty interesting.
But I grew up as a tomboy. Like I grew up going to a shooting range with my grandpa and
Okay.
got my first gun when I was 8 years old for Christmas. That was my gift.
So like you grew up already redefining what it is to be a woman at an early age. It's not your textbook, you know, what people think. It's changing. Like you're shooting guns. Were you wrestling as a kid?
Yeah, and then we'd play in the creek outside my grandparents' house. Like we did everything. And
That's
I didn't ever like I get into makeup, but I was like, nah, I'm good. Go outside and hang out with all the guys. Like High school, most of my friends were guys.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Being the female with all guy friends.
So much easier.
Is it? Why do you say that? For the ladies out there.
No drama. Like, if a guy gets mad at you, it's just like over in 5 minutes. Most of the time. There's exceptions.
Gotcha. So how about this? So being in jiu-jitsu, would you say it's majority men?
Yes.
Probably changing.
I mean, there's more females that sign up, but it's different rolling with a guy than it is a girl.
Okay. I got to be honest. So imagine that, Norm. Like I'm thinking about you right now doing jiu-jitsu and rolling. Okay, let's set this up to the non-jiu-jitsu minded person.
To the non-jiu-jitsu. Oh.
You are rolling around with someone of the opposite sex on the ground. You might be behind him, in a rear naked position, right? So I know a little terminology. I feel like I'm Joe Rogan here, but you might be in that position. You might be in a north-south position. You know what a north-south position is?
Yes. Is that another Joe Rogan?
There's another
term?
No, that's a terminology.
Okay. I'm
just saying, so like, and I'm being silly here, but seriously, like the man-woman dynamic. And also I would imagine too, like men, sometimes you can be very egotistical and be like, only men can do this. And so that's gotta be tough to kind of fight against that as a female, right?
Honestly, people with egos, it irritates me.
How come?
To be honest, because most of the people that have egos have nothing to back it up.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying that you can't have an ego if you are like killing it, but who wants to listen to it?
Right.
Like, you just gonna sit there and talk about yourself? Like, no one's gonna be interested.
Right.
And it's like you walk into a gym. And nowadays, a lot of females work out. They're doing a lot more. And there's a lot of females that are stronger than a lot of the guys.
It sounds like you're the type that's not afraid to do the work, put in the hard work and stuff. And I know we're going to talk about, I see some medals here. Awesome.
A lot of shiny hardware up there.
It doesn't sound like you're just doing it for the accolades. It sounds like this has been like life-changing for you, regardless of your record,
right?
Air quotes, regardless of your record, it sounds like it's been life-changing where for someone that's egotistical and is doing it for the recognition or because they think they're awesome. Like for you, it's much different.
Like I try when I meet new people that come into the gym, like I try to not mention that I compete. I try to just tell them like I've been there.
How come?
Because I don't feel like I need everyone to know.
Do you feel like they would judge you or look at you differently than you want them to if you told them?
I just don't think it's important. Like, yeah, after these big wins, like recognition is nice. Like I put a lot into these big competitions that I've placed in, but I don't do it for anyone to know. Like I do it for me. And like I have a notebook that I have at home that my husband bought me after I competed the first time. And he's like, just write in it. So I started writing like after every competition. I'd put goals down after every competition, like even far out ones. Like I had a goal I wanted to fight that I wrote down like years ago in the book. And like, feel like it doesn't matter. What is it going to do to somebody walking in the gym? Me saying, I have all these wins. I have all these medals. Like the only thing they need to know is that I've started where they are. And if you keep going, there's big things that can happen.
Gotcha.
That's an awesome way to look at it.
So if I were to ask you, just simply, why do you do jiu-jitsu now? Why?
It's a passion. I'm off training right now because I have torn cartilage in my rib.
Was it from a move?
It was from sparring, yeah.
Was it?
And it's been horrible being off. It's only been maybe like a week. And I was off lifting for about a week. And it's awful to sit there and watch my kids train and know I can't go on the mats yet. And it's just like the only place where I can like really put it all out there.
Gotcha. Be yourself.
And my kids see it. They're like, I actually got a text from my son, my 10-year-old, and it wasn't supposed to be sent to me. He was sending it to my husband. And it's him in the camera going, "My mom's a beast." And I was like,
All right. So how did that feel in that moment? Like, I could see it on your face. Like, that's got to really mean something to you.
In the moment, I was just like, because for so long, my kids would be like, "Mom, you don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm talking about when I tell them like tips on things. And then when I got that, I was like, wow.
Yeah,
like I wasn't expecting that.
special.
It wasn't like he recorded it to send it to me.
Yeah. So
He's
it's genuine. It wasn't like, you have the relationship between a parent and a child, and there's posturing and they're saying what you think they want to hear. Right. Like, like when your significant other comes in the room and they say, "Well, how does this look? Does this look all right on me?"
It looks amazing.
It looks amazing, honey.
You look great.
You can't answer any other way. You're posturing because you're saying what you're supposed to say, right? But especially with your kids, getting that respect. I actually was telling someone this yesterday. We were talking about parenting, and this is something that I've learned is you can tell your kids something, and as parents, you tell them what you're supposed to tell them as parents. But when they see you live it, what you're telling them, if you just live it and show them as opposed to telling them, and with what we talked about in this short time, with all you've been through, they see you and they see the change. They see who you are becoming every day. And now they're doing it. And it's not because you told them to do it. Like that's the ultimate lesson. It's got to be very rewarding for you.
It is. And actually, they have to come with me when I strength train. And they've been there so many times watching that now, like my little one was doing deadlifts with the bar that's weighs more than him. My other one was on the rowing machine. And they were like, "We want to lift." And my little one's like, "I want to fight like you. I want to be like you." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, I want you to be what you want to be." He's like, "Nah." He's like, "Mom, you're a beast. You're a monster." I was like, "Oh,
I'm trying to follow in your footsteps.
Thank you."
That's crazy how jujitsu's kind of come into your life, and it's like sounds like it fit perfectly and came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. And now my kids are like, "Don't worry, Mom's got us. No one's gonna bother us."
Wow,
It's big, especially as a mom.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it was interesting though. After my last fight, I got destroyed on my face. And my kids were like,
picture here.
I bet you didn't feel anything.
No. And my face was swollen, my nose broken, stitches, the whole thing. And my kids were like, "Don't show up to school with your face showing."
What'd you say?
And I was like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And they're like, "Just put sunglasses on or something." So I showed up with sunglasses and a hat. And my youngest comes walking out of the class and he's like, "See, that's my mom." He told the whole class. I saw his notebook at the end of the year. He drew a picture of me and wrote about my face.
Wow.
And he's like, "Well, now you can show your face at school. My class knows."
That's awesome. I mean, you're teaching them to be a competitor. You're teaching them to follow your dreams or follow your passions, to seek them out, to give your all. Right. And and don't be afraid to show your war wounds.
And it's be comfortable being uncomfortable.
That hits hard.
It does.
I think that's seriously, I wasn't expecting you to say that right now. I was just telling my son yesterday about that. We're talking about how growth comes from being uncomfortable. Like when you're a parent, and then every generation, you want your kids to do better than the previous generation. Like, parents work. And so you get your kids to a level of comfort. Like you make a certain amount of money and then they don't have to work as hard, or they don't have to want for anything. Generations ago, people had to struggle. Right. And so now you put all this work in, but you're telling them to be comfortable being uncomfortable. it's like, maybe all the important needs are taken care of. But like,
so before my last fight, I was versing in Muay Thai a girl who's been training a lot longer than me. I had not even hit my year in, and to say I wasn't nervous would be the biggest lie of my life. It was actually, that fight was on the exact day that I lost the second baby of my pregnancy. And so I was like even more determined. I didn't care if I win or lose. I was going to stay for the fight.
wow.
And my kids were like, "Are you scared?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm terrified." And they're like, "Well, why are you going to do it?" I'm like, "Because what's going to happen if I don't do it? I'm going to regret not doing it just because I'm terrified."
See, I feel like, Norm, that's the definition of strength. Strength is like being scared but still doing it. Ultimately,
taking that leap of faith
right?
when you don't think you're prepared.
Just either way, like, that's how you know if I've put the work in, I'll be ready. If I didn't, it's going to show, especially in something that's like mano-a-mano, one-on-one, like wrestling. Like if you haven't put the work in, there's no hiding it. It's not like like in a team sport. So you do team sports.
Yeah.
Right? You can do team sports and half-ass it, and someone else can win the game for you. And you're like, damn, we got away with that one. Man, good thing you hit that shot. Or good
yeah, because Norman was playing terrible.
Actually, I've watched you play a lot of team sports. Usually you're the guy bailing everyone out. Like, damn, good thing he plays softball. So like this running joke is like, good thing Norm came. But in an individual sport, like that, it's like if you haven't done the work, if you don't have the cardio, I bet you there's been some times where you have had to dig deep into the tank. Right?
I had a match as a blue belt, and I was down points. I had 30 seconds left of my match, and my coach screams, "You have 30 seconds." I got my head out from it in between her legs, went around and pulled an arm bar.
Wow.
I was down quite a few points too. And so when my kids tell me I'm tired, I'm like, it doesn't matter. You have this amount of time to show what you've been working on. You can either quit and give up and live with that, or you find whatever energy you have left, regardless of how many points you're down, to just do it.
Wow. So, like I mentioned, I watch a lot of USC and MMA. It's something I really, really enjoy. And I've seen fighters be in submissions where someone's got a choke on them, or they're setting them up, or they're in an arm bar. And then if you got it locked in, it can be tough to get out of. Have you been in submissions where someone's got you and you had to find a way to get out of it? Like where you're like, most people would tap here. I'm not tapping, I'm getting out.
So the last comp, the IBJJF, it was the match for gold. And she had my arm and I was stacking and putting pressure, and I could see her face. Like she was not comfortable. I wasn't either. And it was like every inch I got, I gave her back.
So
like,
stacking is that, I think I know what that means. Can you describe that to the people out there in TV land?
So she had my arm, and so I was pretty much putting her knees to her face.
Got
like
it.
Folding her up.
Putting pressure on her
Yeah.
to try to get her to release it.
Yeah, and then she'd let go a little bit, and then the second I do something, then I'd be back in again. It was back and forth, and then ultimately she got the armbar.
But you fought.
Oh yeah, I was not gonna go down without trying.
Were you, because I've seen armbars go where people don't tap and they end up, hyperextending and breaking their arm. Like, so you hung on there for a while. At what point? When do you know when to tap?
I try to think that a win isn't going to define me, and I want to train. I've popped my elbows out. I've popped this one out to the point that it was bruised from here to here.
Wow.
And I kept training while it was popped out. And then while training, it got popped back in. I did not go to the doctor because I am too stubborn to do that. But it's pretty much like when you get a feeling like you know that it's going to just pop, it's either you let your ego or you remember why you're doing it because you want to train and compete again.
You mentioned a word that I've heard some people say that I have a different perspective on. Being stubborn, I think people think of as a bad word. I think stubborn, when you think of stubborn, I'm stubborn. Another way to say it is conviction, right? You're convicted. Like when you believe in something, would you say now you're stubborn with jujitsu that you'll never stop?
I won't ever stop.
Right. So that's where it's working for you. Like once you have your mind on something, no one's going to change your mind. You could say that's being stubborn, right?
That's exactly how I am.
Right.
My husband will agree.
Right. So, I mean, you take the good with the bad. I think everything in life is like a gift and a curse.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like Norm, would you say you're stubborn about things?
Oh, excessively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about with athletics and sports?
No, yeah, absolutely. I'll play when I'm hurt. And yeah, absolutely. I don't like doctors either.
What is this about? I don't consider myself an athlete at all, but like, what is it about athletes that they'll play injured? Like you guys are not making money doing this stuff. You do it for the passion and the love. You do flag football and all kinds of things. You guys are just athletic. What is it about athletes that are like, I don't care if I'm hurt, I'm going to play. I have to do it.
I don't know. Like personally, me, when I had hurt my ribs and I couldn't work out or do any sports, I was just not, I wasn't the funnest person to be around.
Okay.
Like it just ruined my entire vibe every single day. Like it was very negative. So at least for me personally, it just put me in a bad place where like I can't go to my happy place. I can't do all those things that give me joy. What about you?
I feel like there's always something you can do. Might not be the full, like right now with my rib, how it is, I've taken time off, but I've still moving. Like I'm back to strength training. After I messed up my rib, I still went and strength trained the week after. And then I took time off because I was like, I'm going to be competing again soon. I can't really mess around. But today I went back to lifting again. And well, I went back Wednesday, I think it was. Yeah. And it's just, there's always something. It's not going to be the full like sport. You just have to do what you can.
So did you go to the doctor when you got injured?
So I started working an overnight job at UPS because I can still train.
I worked at UPS for one day.
Well, so I could still train and I'll be home with my kids while my husband's at work.
Yeah.
So I went and the first 2 days, you just sit there falling asleep, listening to people talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third night we were actually loading the trucks. And I'm there and I know that I can't lift more than 40 pounds if I'm lucky.
Wow.
And they learned that. And I wasn't going to tell them. I was like, I'm just going to do it until I can't. And so I told the girl I was with, I was like, I can't lift over 40 pounds right now. She's like, oh, what happened? I'm like, God, messing my rib. Well, they sent me home.
Wow.
And they're like, you can't come back without a doctor's note. So I had to go to the doctor.
But you wouldn't have otherwise.
Absolutely not.
Now, when you went, I got to ask this because I'm going somewhere with it. So when you went to the doctor, was it for the purposes of going back to work or was it to actually assess whether or not you were okay or not?
It was to go
back to work. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how some people will go to doctors to like have them be the person to tell them that it's almost kind of like they want the excuse. Like, well, my doctor says I can't do something, so I guess I can't do it. But you didn't do it. You wouldn't go there because you don't need them to tell you what you can and can't do.
Correct. I actually, what did I have wrong with me? I had something and I went to the ER and they were like, oh, you can't go and train. I was like, how about I just go and do this? And he's like, no, you have to take time off. And
which is unacceptable for you.
I was like, what do you mean? Oh, I had a concussion. That's what it was.
Oh, just wait a minute. Of all the things, I just had a brain injury. So,
but I can still like go back.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean like I can't roll with someone and just armbar them. It's a concussion. I mean, come on.
So it was so bad that it took 2 weeks to get rid of. So like
wow.
I couldn't have like light, nothing.
How did you concuss?
I got kicked behind the ear during rolling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with a heel. So I like was miserable for 2 weeks. So I did sit out. But when he told me like, oh, you can't train, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, can't I just go and like do a little something? My last concussions, I did go back to train right after. And when I had stitches in my eye, a broken nose, and a concussion, I was training 2 days later.
Wow. I'm thoroughly convinced nothing's going to stop you from doing this. Now, this is just kind of, it's who you are. You know how fortunate that is. Like, so many people go through life and they never find out what they're passionate about. Like, you just gravitated towards, you could probably go back and be like, well, if I didn't do this, that wouldn't happen. If I didn't do this, that wouldn't happen. If my friend didn't tell me to do this, right? And you can kind of draw this line to kind of see where you're at now, which has led to you influencing your kids. You know, anyone that watches this podcast, they're going to watch this and be like, I didn't think like, you know, I thought I had to be a lady. You know, the textbook.
That's overrated.
It's overrated, right?
Don't wear heels. Don't wear dresses. Just
well, it's all right
enjoy
once in a
the
while.
sweats.
Do you wear dresses at all?
Only if I have to. Otherwise, I wear joggers, sandals, and t-shirts.
That's awesome.
We go out and my husband's dressed like nice. And then there's me with the jiu-jitsu shirt and sweatpants.
So how has that helped? So you have a spouse, and you said that he does kickboxing, but not jiu-jitsu?
No. He does
jiu-jitsu. Okay, the other way. Yeah. Okay, he does it too.
But not Muay Thai.
No.
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit, but we didn't really open it up. Do you guys roll together?
Yes.
At the gym?
Yes.
Okay. And so who wins?
Look right into the camera and say it.
Just say it. He's watching.
Me.
All right. Do you think he's holding back, or do you feel like he's like, she's really a badass?
I think we both hold back. It sounds weird to say, I'm sure, but I don't train how I compete.
Okay, you got to explain that one.
The mindset when you go into competing is different. Like I can't go against my training partners that I'm friends with going as hard as I do when I compete. Because what's the point? If they get hurt, I don't have partners to train with.
I'll be honest, just looking at you, when you said,
you scared me.
No bullshit. She's like, when they get hurt, I got to deal with that after. Like the confidence, the way that you said that, like there's this, do you feel that way? Like you go to this place where it's like, look out.
At comps, like you're my opponent. I am thinking about nothing but that I want to win.
Wow. And how much of that, I probably know the answer to this, how much of jiu-jitsu is physical and how much of it is mental?
I think a lot of it's mental. You're going up and you're standing on the side of a mat. You see your opponent literally right next to you. And you can see what they look like. You know if they're strong, you know if they're not. And you can judge someone and think, oh, you're older, you're skinnier. And most of the time, it doesn't even make a difference. But you mentally put that in your head. Like, for instance, my friend, she lifts with me and she's strong. When she first started at our gym, she'll tell anyone, she's like, you looked mad when the coaches asked you to work with me. And I was like, have you seen your biceps? And I know who you're dating. It's now my Muay Thai coach. I'm like, yeah, I was terrified. I'm like, I wasn't annoyed. I was like, this chick's going to kill me. And now her and I are very close friends, but you're mentally putting it in your head. Like, this person's going to be stronger than me. This person probably wins all the time.
Do you still feel that way? Like, that's a part of everyone. Everyone prejudges. Like, you see an opponent, you're like, man, like anybody with Mike Tyson on the other side of the cage is like, this dude's going to rip my head off. You know, like you still feel that way. I mean, it's probably getting better where you're like, look, just whatever happens. You've probably proven yourself right or wrong both ways. Would you feel that way?
I have a different mindset about it.
Clearly.
I don't walk into any competition thinking I'm going to win. I don't ever feel ready. Everyone's like, do you feel ready? And I'm like, no. I stay up all night long leading up to comps, running the game plan through my head that I've done for 4 years now. I never go in confidently saying I'm going to win. I see my opponents, don't care if they're big, strong, little. I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm not going to win. There's no way. And so far, it's worked for me.
Yeah, I bet if we talked about it, we probably unpack that a little bit. But would you say you still have fear when you do it?
Always. I put so much into my training that the thought of not doing well means I'm not working hard enough. And my kids, I'm taking all this time away from them to train. And so showing up and not showing up, is it worth being away from the kids that much?
It's got to be worth it for you. Because like what they get in return is you at your best self.
But like it goes through my head. Like if I don't do well, my kids are seeing that. I want to prove to them that when you do train as hard and as much as I do, that good things come out of it.
Pays off.
Yeah.
So you said your kids think you're a badass. Do you ever share with them the other side where you're like, you know, because you admitted here on a podcast, people are going to watch this. Like you admitted, like, yeah, I still have fear. I'm still afraid.
They know.
Do they know? You told them? What'd they say?
Every drive to comps, even if they're not with, I get in a mood.
Okay.
And it's like
game day or?
Yeah, I get like so in my head. And they're like, why are you so crabby? Why are you? I'm like, I don't want to talk. Like, I'm nervous. And they're like, you don't need to be nervous, Mom. You kill it every time. We know you're bringing home medals. We know you're going to be on the podium. Like, I placed at this last competition for absolute, which I was shocked. I took second. It's only my second IBJJF that I've done, and both of them were as a blue belt. And I got back to where my kids were, and I was like, well, I did it. And they're like, we knew it. I was like, I took second. It's not gold, but I took second for absolute, and I took bronze for the normal division. And they were like, we knew it. We knew you were going to bring home medals. And I was like, I don't know how you guys know it. And they're like, you just always do. You work hard.
And you just recently went to, after the Chicago Open, you went to another one in the Dells or somewhere in Wisconsin?
That was a local one. Yeah, I did a local one in the Dells.
Your kids went with you for that one?
Mm-hmm.
They got to see it?
We were on family vacation.
Were they screaming like, don't hit my mama?
So my son took my phone and he was on the sidelines, my 8-year-old, and he's like videoing and screaming in the background. Saying? He's like, let's go, Mom, you got this.
That's awesome.
And then after he's like, Mom, you're a beast. And he like gave me a big hug. I was like, stop. You don't need to say that in front of all these people.
What kind of medal did you bring home from there?
A gold.
Gold.
Wow.
In front of your kids.
Your kids are there. They see you go through like, you know, that one-on-one competition where I don't know if you remember the matches you had, but I bet you were probably in some tough positions that you had to get out of. They see you work through that adversity, right? Mm-hmm. And then come out on top like that. I mean, just got to be nothing better. You probably were, you don't seem like someone who's egotistical, but you were probably proud of yourself that day to some degree, right?
Yeah. I don't show it externally though.
Okay. But you do take time to be like, you know what? Do you ever stop and say, I've come a long way? Like, do you smell the roses? Stop and smell the roses?
Every single time. I'm like, I'm proud of myself. Like, I don't need a clap, but it's nice to hear people say like they are proud of me. You know what I mean? And so even if I don't hear that, I'm proud of me. And I'm like, I got this. But then I have my stone cold face.
Cold.
Yeah.
What did your husband call it?
It's a resting Kris face.
Resting. RCF. That's
K.
Okay.
RK. Yes. Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's a hashtag. It's Norman, it's got to be a t-shirt, bro.
It's a t-shirt. I said that. That's a t-shirt for sure.
It's a t-shirt.
We're good.
Oh,
If you make t-shirts,
is
hit us up.
Is it short for Christina?
Yeah.
Or why is that the same? My wife has the same. It's awesome.
Yeah, they're both scary.
Or you're guaranteed to sell 2 shirts.
3.
Hope she's not watching this. No, she was. She totally buy it. So let me ask you this question. You like I said, mad respect doing this. At this point, you are creating ripples, right? You're doing this. It's not just about you. Your kids are watching you. You're impacting other people. They're watching you. You talked about your friend influencing your friend. Do you feel like, do you have people that you can, I think the greatest form of you having this change in your life, and like I said, I can relate, I have my own journey, is that you're influencing other people. And now because you did this, it's leading to other people's lives being impacted. Like, I'm sure that's got to be happening. Do you?
Yeah, I see a lot of it, especially with lifting. A lot of my friends have signed up, started doing.
That's the hardest part is starting.
Yeah.
Right?
My one best friend, I was on top of her nonstop for months after I started training at the one gym. And I was like, just do it. I did not leave her alone. And now she's been there, I don't know, a year or so. And she's made
so it's a habit
crazy progress.
Because like lifting and being healthy is different than what you're doing. I think, I don't know, this is my opinion. I don't know that people do jujitsu just for the sake of being healthy. Right? Because there's an element of risk to it, right? I mean, your joint manipulation and you can get injuries. I don't think people sign up to be like, what's the healthiest thing I can do to be fit?
Right.
I don't think it's jujitsu.
No.
Right? I think people that do jujitsu in some way, they're savages. What I mean? Like they have a place that they can go to, right? To be able to control someone and to continue to go into deep water like that. I mean, honestly, I got to put it near the short list of athletic things you can do where you have to be like, look, it's either them or me. You feel that way?
It's definitely not for everyone.
Right. So do you have, I mean, we're putting you on the spot here. How many, would you say, how many, how you separated competing against just doing it for the discipline part of it? How many competitive matches have you had?
Over 40.
Wow. Do you have one that stands out to you?
Yeah, I was a white belt. It's actually the Grappling Games Pro.
Can you, which one is that? These things are pretty heavy, by the way. You get a little workout just by about a good.
So I was a white belt. And
probably put a picture up for that one.
The people that run the Grappling Games Pro, they were refs from when I first started. And they were like, you gotta verse somebody that's like gonna really push you. I was running through matches, like my matches were ending in under 30 seconds. And it was just like over and over to the point I was getting bored of competing. And so they were like, we're gonna have a white belt like match on this pro card. And I was like, okay. They're like, we've never done it, but we're gonna make an exception. So they had a girl from Michigan come out, and she is like, I've never paced so much in my life. Like I'm pacing, and before most of the big matches, now I listen to this recording, but so our professor, Rafael Lovato Jr., he's out in Oklahoma. I had messaged his now wife, and I was like, what's the trick to get past the jitters? Because this was a stage, lights, I had to have a walkout song. Like it was streamed, like the whole thing. And I'm a white belt. And I'm like, what did I get myself into? And he sent a recording. to remind me why I do it. That it doesn't matter if I win or lose. Like, I just need to have fun and just show what I've done. So I'm listening to the recording, pacing back and forth. I'm like, this chick's going to kill me. Like, she just looks so calm and together. And at the end of it, I had the most dominant position the whole time. I didn't get a sub. It was a sub only.
What position were you in? Like, is there?
I was just on top the whole time.
Okay.
And it was sub only, and I didn't get a sub, so it was ref's choice. But we went the full 7 minutes of the match.
Were you exhausted at the end?
I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't grip to tie my pants. I could barely put my belt on.
And you loved every minute of it, I bet.
Every second. I could not believe that, no, I didn't get the sub, but I went out there and I won. I couldn't feel my hands halfway through it because I was dependent so much on my grip strength that it just like fried up my forearms.
Wow.
And it was terrifying to go out there. Like, you have all these lights, you have people watching. And that was like the moment where I was like, I want to do more of these eventually.
Because you got to the other side when you thought in your mind, this is not possible. And then you got to the other side and said, wow, if I just trust the process, trust that I've done the work, and then give all of myself in that moment, this is what's possible, right? Something else you had said that I think is interesting, and I'm a quote guy, and there's you said your coach helped you to understand why you do what you do, right? And connect with that. And so a quote says, when you understand the why, the how is easy. Right. So it sounds like for you, with this whole journey and everything we talked about, you're connected with why you do it. You're very grounded. So then the tactical part of it is just going to come. Like, it gets easy then. You're like I'm going to show up every day no matter what. I know why I'm here. I know what, like you said, when I'm here, the days I don't want to do it, while I'm taking time away from my kids, so it forces me to do it. It's like you're so tied into it. Like, it's just a part of who you are now. Right. I don't think anyone's going to be able to take jiu-jitsu away from you at this point, huh?
No. People always ask me, what if your husband wants you to stop? And I said, well, first off, he wouldn't ask me to do that. And second of all, I do it for me. And I'm not going to stop doing something because somebody wants me to. Yeah. If you can't handle it, no one's making you stay.
Yeah. You say that confidently too. It doesn't sound like you do this just because you need to get a sweat in. It sounds like it's also therapeutic.
And he's my biggest supporter. My husband, I call him my manager. He signs me up.
Spouse manager, huh?
He signs me up for all these competitions that are local. I just found out I'm doing one in October.
No, wait a minute. I'm married and I have my wife. I don't think I could ever tell her, hey, by the way, this is what you're doing on this date.
No.
Right? Our wives are very similar like that. So like he owns your calendar and says, oh, babe, by the way, you're doing this next month.
And he'll sign me up and like he'll put me in the weight division that I always do. And the last time I was like, I don't want to cut weight. Like, I don't want to. He's like, you do it all the time. Just do it. Do you
range between, what's the weight ranges that you'll compete in?
I try to do under 150. It's very hard.
What's your comfortable weight that if you didn't, because weight cutting is a science too, and it's tough, but like if you had your way and said, this is where I like to be and I'll cut, but this is where I'm comfortable.
155 pounds.
Okay.
And that last 5 pounds is pretty awful.
Yeah. Do you feel like it impacts your performance too? Like, because you have to lose all that
I feel like it used to. When I went out to Oklahoma to compete a couple of years ago, I felt like it really messed me up. Like, I went in, was fasted for a whole day. And when I say fasted, like no drink, no food, nothing.
Wow.
First match, I won. Second match, I don't even know what the points were, but when I stood up, I got dizzy. I saw stars and I was like, oh, this is not good. And I tried to push through, but she grabbed my arm and subbed me. But I feel like if I could have eaten or drank something, I would have been able to push through. So I feel like, yeah, it does affect me.
Yeah, it affects everyone different, right?
But like now with all of like doing fights, I've done 3 now, and all like the training that I've done, I feel like it's not as bad.
So you say fights, do you mean like mixed martial arts?
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai, okay. You ever thought about putting it all together?
I have. The only problem is cost money to train and got to pay for it.
Okay.
And if you don't work, you can't pay for it. And the time you're at work is time away from training.
Gotcha. So Muay Thai, huh? 3 fights already? How's that going?
I went out to Iowa last year, actually a year ago from today. It was tournament style. It was TBA. And
What does that mean?
it's the largest expo in North America for Muay Thai. So it's tournament style. So you're doing 1 fight a day, but you have to win 1 fight to do the next one.
Mm.
And there's 4 rings set up, not just 1. So I went out there. I ended up taking 2nd place.
Wow.
For my bracket. And then I did a normal fight last September. And that was way different. It was fun. My coach thinks I'm psycho, but
When your coach says you're psycho,
Probably a good thing.
you don't want to see you in the dark alley, huh? Someone tries to snatch your purse, it's going to be a problem.
I definitely wouldn't be nice.
You would what they call a tough out. You'd be what they call it. She's a tough out. That's awesome.
So what's coming up? What do you have coming up?
August 13th, I have IBJJF Open in Chicago. And then in September, I'm going to Vegas for Master Worlds.
Wow.
Which has been a huge dream of mine.
How come?
It's like the largest comp, and everyone that shows up is there for the same reason. They want the win.
Yeah. So you're going there to compete, you know, like what weight class you?
I signed up for heavier than I want to, but right now I'm eating clean and trying to lean out, so I'm going to drop down. But I want to compete at like 150.
Okay. So are you also a fan of others that do it too? Are you a fangirl? Do you have like athletes that you think emulate what's important to you too, or is that something that's just not important to you?
I mean, our professor that's out in Oklahoma, watching like how humble he is, seeing how much he's done in his life is inspiring. Like he won middleweight champ for Bellator a few years back. And
name is definitely, there's recognition there for sure.
And like just seeing all that he's accomplished I enjoy watching, because it's like he was just some kid from Oklahoma and made it big. It's like, maybe I have a chance. I'm mom from the suburbs.
That's interesting. My son, he started watching Cobra Kai. Like he's late to the party, right? Everyone's been watching it on Netflix. And so
Still haven't watched it.
So he's like your Mr. Miyagi, but in a legitimate sense, not in like a fake, Netflix show sense. Like that knowledge, that strength has the answer. The answer is within, right?
And I was actually there for his Bellator fight. And it was like just seeing like the whole thing in front of you.
Wow.
Was just like, you have to have that drive.
Could you see yourself in that same position?
I think so.
Yeah?
I'll tell you, if you need anyone to you've definitely convinced us that you definitely have the confidence to do it, the willpower. you know, your purpose is like all lined up in terms of like figuring out the training component of it. I mean, you still are in that window where, you know, you are able to physically do the things you want to do. But like you said, you're the type that you're going to be doing this stuff until, you know, till you can't do it anymore, huh?
Literally cannot do it anymore.
Have you like envisioned yourself being like the 70-year-old woman?
I was actually just talking to my friend about it. I was like, we're going to be like those old ladies rolling up with like our gray hair. Like, we're ready to roll.
Tapping out the young bucks.
Yeah, I don't think I will stop. I have to be forced. I can't just sit around. And age is just a number.
It totally is.
True.
Yeah. So like we're not 20 anymore and we talk about that. It's like, it's I think with age, it's you've reached the next level, right? So like a year older, I had this friend who, you know, we're competitive and he beat me in his like 1 mile time. He's like, I think he's like 4 years older than me. He's like, hey, just want to let you know I beat your time. I'm like, yeah, you've had 4 more years in this earth than me. You should beat me.
That's the doorbell.
You know, so when I told him that, he's like, you ass. Like, you've had 4 more years to figure this stuff out. You should beat me, right? So it's like as you get older, especially like in the like karate or self-defense, like if you've been on this earth longer, like when I was a kid, I used to watch all of the Samurai Sunday, Bruce Lee, all that stuff, and you have like these, like, you know, the old masters. You're like the ones that have like the black belts and the 3-4 time black belts, like they have all this knowledge and you feel like they have all that wisdom. They've been around that long. So like age is like there's wisdom. They haven't figured out. Where I think some people in some cultures, they look at old people and older people and think their time is past. They have nothing to offer. Right? How do you feel about that? Like, cause you know, you're going to be the 70-year-old wise woman talking in quotes?
I'm in better shape now than I was in my 20s.
Wow.
I would have never pictured how I am now at my age. Like, I would have been like, oh, I should have been like this in my 20s.
Well, with your kids growing up, seeing you do this, are you going to let them compete?
So
that's an interesting question.
My kids compete in jiu-jitsu. My younger one said he wants to start fighting. And I'm not going to lie, I cannot handle it. When they're on the jiu-jitsu competition mats, I am biting my nails and I don't bite my nails. I'm sweating. Like I have to wear a tank top and bring an extra shirt. And there's pictures that have been caught of me yelling like shit. And any other swear that comes out because I'm like, and the thought of watching my kid get hit in the face, I don't think I can handle that. And he wants to, and I'm like, let's wait till you're a little older and then we'll revisit that.
So there it is. You didn't say no.
Topic.
You didn't say no. You said just where they're at in their age. Right. Because it sounds like you don't want to take it away from them either if it's something they're really passionate about.
Right. I told him, I was like, you know, you need to grow in jiu-jitsu, in your ground game, before you start adding anything else. Mm. Like that all has to start making some sense to you before you start adding in some new sport. And I'm like, as much as I can't handle seeing you get hit, I'm like, you have to perfect what you're doing first.
Right.
Show me that you're passionate about that you're going to show up to training every single day you're supposed to train. And you're not going to complain about it. You're just going to do it because that's what you want to do.
Got it.
And I was like, and it costs money, which we're not going to waste it if you're not going to take it seriously.
But if they show you that it's important to them and they do all those things, then at that point, there's risk.
Suck it up.
You'd have to suck it up. Because I think I was talking to my wife the other day. We're talking about a friend who has their child in football. And football is we're learning now how dangerous it really is and how bad it is for the body. I mean, you got, whether it's the CTE and the brain injuries or back injuries or blowing your knees out in high school, grade school, it's a pretty hardcore sport, right? So when you compare that up against jujitsu,
it's like you said, it's not for everyone. Not for everyone.
Right. But also too, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm prejudging in this instance, how many kids that play football that they're connected to the why they do it, where it's more recreational, it's for fun. It sounds to me like with what you're saying that there's a much deeper reason why you do jujitsu. It's not recreation for you at all.
No.
Right? Let me ask you that, because you're a football guy. How many guys that play flag football, let's just say, do it for recreation, and how many of them do it on the level for the reasons that Kris is talking about? I'm not judging anybody. And some people, hey, it's a workout. This is where I get to see my friends, and that's all well and good too, the community of it. But for you, like, people are gonna have to pry you away from jujitsu because it's therapeutic, right? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like 50-50. Like, you have your higher level guys who are willing to put in a mouthpiece, and I've had guys break arms. I mean, break jaws, concussions, all that stuff. Whether it's tackle football or flag football, same thing.
Well, you got a little guy, so
I got a little guy. My little guy talks about playing football all the time, and it terrifies me.
And you coach, so
yeah, it terrifies me. You
gonna stop him?
No. No. If he wants to do it now, I probably could never coach him, like be his coach. I could train him, but probably not his coach, because I don't know how I don't know how I'll emotionally react to seeing my kid one day maybe like just get completely trucked and motionless on the floor.
Ugh.
I don't know how I would do. My parents saw me one time in high school, motionless on the floor, and I just remember tears and my dad telling me to get my ass up and get off the field. I don't know how I would react.
It's tough to coach your kids. I mean, have you coached them at events?
I have.
Do they respond?
My younger one actually asked me to coach him.
Really?
I'm like, you don't want anyone else to coach you? He's like, no, I want you to coach me.
That is so unique.
And the first time he said that to me, I was shocked. I was like, you sure? Like, there's coaches here. And he's like, no, I want you to coach me.
Do they listen to you at home when you coach them to clean their room?
No. Not unless I am talking. If I yell, they don't listen. If I talk and look at them, their eyes turn red.
When your voice gets low and slow, then they know that they're near getting armbarred?
They'll literally just stand there and their eyes turn red and they'll start to cry. Wow. I don't even raise my voice. I literally can just look at them.
Wow. And size-wise, you mentioned their age. You said 8 and 10? Mm-hmm. What about size? Where are they compared to you?
My 10-year-old is like up to my shoulder. My 8-year-old is a little small for his age, so he's only like 50 pounds.
Okay.
Short little guy. He's mighty. He takes after me. He's ruthless. He knows what he wants, and he doesn't take no for an answer.
Wow. That's awesome. So you have a whole household of people doing jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, being athletic and being active sounds like it's just ingrained in that family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's your daily routine like?
Well, recently, it's all changed up. Before my last fight, I was at Muay Thai Monday through Thursday and sometimes Saturdays. I'd lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and I'd be at jiu-jitsu Monday through Saturday.
On top of being a mom, wife, working.
But you find a way to get it done.
Yeah, committed as hell.
And if the kids have to come with me, they come with. When my 8-year-old was younger, he'd sleep on the floor at our jiu-jitsu gym. I'd bundle them up at 5 a.m., carry them into the car, drive to the gym, park in the front of the building, carry both kids in, train, then carry them both out, bring them home, put them back in bed, and then get them up for school.
So they just don't know any different. And this just came up in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it really has nothing to do with jujitsu, because like you could substitute that with just about anything else that you brought them along for the ride, right?
It's gotten to the point where if I have to miss training, they try to find an excuse for me to not miss. Like, for instance, my one son had pink eye, and I jumped off the mats at training, and I was like, we got to go to immediate care to get drops because it's late. They're going to close. And he's like, no, you got to stay and train. You got to stay and train. I was like, no, we have to get you to the doctor. My training can wait. You come first. And he was so upset. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, we have to get you to the doctor so you feel better. The training isn't going to leave. It's going to be there tomorrow.
So you do also, not that you ever stop being a mom, but there's times where you're like, okay, I got to be a mom first here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It sounds like they're just as committed as you are.
Yeah, they know how much it means to me. So even if it's super important, they'll be like, oh, we'll do it after. And there's certain things where I'm like, no, like, you boys come before everything. So if that means I miss a week of training, a day of training, then that's how it goes. What I've learned isn't going to disappear in a week's time.
Yeah, I don't know how else to say that. That's pretty awesome. I mean, in my mind, I see this picture of like the ripple coming from you outward, like you figured this thing out. And so now it's impacted your kids, who you are, your relationship, the friends around you. And like you put that out into the universe. And like it's, I think anybody that watches this and they hear that story, they're thinking like, what if that's for me? Like, what if maybe it's not jujitsu, maybe it's something else. Like you had the confidence to put yourself out there and try something. And then, it ended up fitting. And it's funny because you look at this in hindsight now where you say like, I was this girl, like fishing, tomboy, whatever it is, blazing your own path. And you look at it now and it all makes sense. Right? Do you ever think about that and be like,
my sister reminded me because when we were younger, I used to hurt her all the time.
Like in horseplay or just
I was
with your feelings because
I was just a really rough kid, like really rough kid. Like I hurt her all the time. I broke countless glasses, like the ones that she wears on her face. And yeah.
Because she stole your Barbies, or were you guys like wrestling?
Probably just me being me. Like my sisters weren't like me in that aspect. Like they were more like not tomboyish, not like I'll do anything. And when I started doing Muay Thai, that's when my sister looked at me and she's like, well, I'm glad like all of the things that you did to me is finally coming into play now. Now you can hit people and it's okay.
You were just training at a young age.
You said something earlier when we first started talking. You're like, if I did the things that I do at the gym outside the gym, I'd get arrested for it.
Yes.
There's got to be a little fun side of it too, a little bit. Like, we're kind of getting deep in the crate here of like, I do this and the purpose and the why and all that stuff. There's a little bit of it feels good to hit some stuff.
Yeah, like when we spar at the Muay Thai gym, like you can't just walk up to somebody and leg kick them to the point that you're leaving bruises on their legs. Like you can't just walk up to somebody and punch them in the gut and be like, okay, I'm good.
I'm telling you, if someone has thought about doing this stuff, they need to watch this video and afterwards be like, I need to do that. Like the gym that you go to, like they need to have this video on their website.
Go ahead, shout out to the gym. Yeah. What gym is it?
Rose Fit Muay Thai and P3 Martial Arts. I belong to 2 different gyms.
And your kids go to both too?
No, they go to P3.
Okay. Husband goes to both.
He goes to Rose Fit to lift.
And where are these located?
Both in Schaumburg.
Where about?
One's off of Wise Road, another one's off Roselle.
And you said that it's was it like an industrial area or like a?
So the jiu-jitsu gym, P3, it's in a strip mall. And then Rose Muay Thai is in a warehouse with no air conditioning. So you learn to love sweating and it feels so good. You start to miss the sweat.
It sounds like a place that needs to be in a warehouse. If this was in a strip mall next to a Wingstop,
No, it wouldn't be the same. No,
I don't think it'd have the same impact, right? That's awesome. That's a great story, man. Norm, I think we need to do that, man. I think we need to go to the gym and give it a shot, man. Roll around a little bit.
We're gonna go roll, like me and you.
It's the blind leading the blind, man. I don't know.
I don't know. We would hurt each other somehow.
I don't know. I know a couple moves. I've watched. I'm one of those guys. Like I've watched enough fights where I know, like, okay, I got my hooks in. Like I know some of the terminology, but I don't know if that would go well. We would probably last about 20 seconds, get exhausted, tired.
No, I mean that's what she said.
Wow, hot take.
No, let's do it though. Let's do it.
I totally would. I'm seriously not even.
Do they have like drop-in like rates for somebody to drop in?
You can go in and try the class, yeah.
Yeah, I think like myself, my wife, like seriously, like this is like missing in our life. Like seriously, like the ripple, it might have just like hit here, legit. And
there's all different ages at both gyms. Like my jiu-jitsu gym, there's a huge range. And then at Muay Thai, there is a huge range there also. You just have to want to work hard.
Okay, we're definitely going to stop by. We're going to stop by and try it out once.
It's not once. This is already something. Hey.
I'm saying once. Let's see how it goes.
It's because you got a temper. That's what it is. Like you would end up getting in a position, which I never asked you that. I know you seem to have a calm confidence about you, but do you ever get like pissed off where you're like out of control?
I haven't in a long time. Usually if I'm really mad, I'll be sitting there and I'll clench my fists. And usually if I'm crying, it's because I'm trying not to let it out. Gotcha. So because you have jiu-jitsu and what you do, you have your release and you're good. You don't have to worry about that then. See, I don't know, man. I think would you cry? Jiu-jitsu, 30 seconds in, we're gassed.
As long as you're not on top.
I don't know. Yesterday you said you wanted me on top. Now you don't want me on top. What?
Dude, that was a private conversation.
I'm just saying though, everybody won with that one.
By the way, his wife is sitting right there.
She was there? No. Remember, babe? Remember?
Yeah. She co-signed.
This is like the extra part during the credits, like this conversation. No, it's all good. Now, I totally would do that. I would totally go check it out. And like I said, I've done kickboxing. My wife and I, we did kickboxing, like more cardio kickboxing, but never an actual jiu-jitsu class. I mean, I've wrestled with friends where like after seriously 30 seconds, I'm exhausted.
I felt the same way. Like one of my buddies that does flag football fro, like he actually fought for fightcard.net. Fight Card? I think that's what it's called. Fight Card. I rolled with him a couple of times in the city at CFC, and 15, 20 seconds in, your grip's already like, oh, you're tired. A minute in, you're like, oh, you're really tired. You can't even hold on to anything. And then right after you're done, you're like,
see, and that's what she's talking about when you're in competition. Like if the other person's trying to choke you out, like you have to like be smart. You can't burn out too early, and you got to be economical with your energy and knowing that if you let up at all, right? Because let's be honest, in a lot of team sports, you can take, like in football, you can take some plays off.
Tons of breaks.
You take plays off.
You shouldn't.
Take breaks. You shouldn't. But people do, right?
Yes.
Right. Like the like wide receivers in football, they'll take plays off. They won't run the route.
Yeah. Right? They'll run play. They get lazy.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. Like 7 minutes of gripping onto somebody though.
Jiu-jitsu, when the other person's trying to choke you out, and if you let go of that grip, they're gonna do their thing, right? You don't have that option, man. No, that's savage.
That is.
We need to do it. But I didn't get the memo. I'm going to color my hair before we go because I feel like I'm the odd person out here.
Yeah,
Make sure
this
it's
is true.
purple.
Purple. I've done blonde, but you got
He
what
has
color
done
is
blonde.
that? What color is that anyway?
I mean, you tell me. It's
I don't
been
know.
a couple.
It
in
kind
the
of
last
matches the shirt. I don't know
6
if you're
days.
coordinating.
It's been blue. It was gray.
I'm gonna start calling you Cisco. You look like Cisco from Drew Hill.
Bino, maybe we will go roll.
I've seen you with a couple different hair colors though. So
Yeah. I like coloring my hair. It's fun.
cool.
It grows back.
It's dope.
Yeah,
I feel
now
like
you got to do it.
I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna dye the hair. I'm gonna come to the gym and I'm gonna get a face tattoo. And- hey, look at who you were before. In all seriousness, like look at who you were before, and then doing jujitsu, and like who you have become. Like you're just a completely different person. I bet you the side to side would also be.
Ooh, have you ever done a side to side?
Like a before and after?
I sent my friend a picture. It was my furry vest and furry purse.
Yeah. So earlier we talked. She likes the fur and the animal print.
And I had makeup on, my hair was done, and I sent it to her. And she's like, "Who are you?"
Oh, and the long nails.
And she didn't know me before jujitsu. She's like, "Who were you?" I'm like, "Not anyone like this."
That was your glow up. Isn't that like a new trend now? They're doing that 5-year glow up. How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu for now?
4 years.
4 years?
You're about ready for the 5 year?
You're about ready for that 5-year trend. Post it.
Probably changed more internally than externally.
Mm-hmm.
Although she has some pictures, we'll put them up where she's ripped. How much did you weigh in those ripped pictures?
The ones from my fight, I was about 145.
145. And you're walking around now, you're
Currently 153.
okay. And by September, you're going to be?
Hopefully 145.
There's no doubt.
No doubt.
You don't come across in this podcast like you're a person that might miss weight.
I will never. I was close the last competition, though. I was 0.4 above.
Wow.
How did you cut the rest of it
What
off?
are the rules? Do you get like a little leeway? Because I know like MMA, they give you like a pound.
Not at IBJJF. So IBJJF, you have to hit it. Exactly. They won't let you go on if you're even 0.1 over. Wow. So I showed up and at home. So for IBJJFs, you have to weigh in with your uniform, everything on. And so
how much does that weigh? About like, is it like?
It adds like 2 to 3 pounds because you have your belt too, and then I wore spandex and a sports bra underneath, but some people wear like a rash guard. And at home, I was 148. I spent hours going from our hot tub to the hot bathtub, change of scenery, cutting water weight because I did not change my diet ahead of time to make it easier because I should have listened to my coach and not been eating bad because I wouldn't have had to deal with that. But I had to cut weight and I was 148 when I left my house. And I got to the comp and they have scales you can check your weight before you go up. And I was supposed to be up like an hour later than I actually was. And so I'm at 153. I think that's what it was. Yeah, 153 with my gi. And I was like, oh, this is great. Or yeah, I think it was 153. I had to be 152.6.
That was the cutoff.
That was the top. Like you could not go over it by even 0.1. And so I take the gi off. I'm ticked. I'm like, how is this happening? I have been dying in the hot tub and the bathtub and I want to drink water. Like I don't even care about food anymore. I just want to drink water. And so my teammate, she's like, change your clothes. We're going out to the car. It's like, okay. So I take my gi off. I throw sweats on, a hoodie. We go out to my car. It's hot as hell outside. And we're in my car with the heat cranked. She was a trooper. She's like, crank the heat. I'm fine. I grab a plush blanket out of my trunk, wrap it around me, and sweat out. Then I get a text from my husband saying, everyone in your bracket's in the bullpen. I was like,
what does that mean?
So that's like where you weigh in for IBJJF. You have to have your gi checked. So that's your uniform. They measure like the space between and your pant length and everything. And he's like, everyone's in the bullpen. I was like, oh, great. At this point, I'm telling my teammate, I'm like, if I start crying, you guys all just need to run. Just run away, because
It's that crying thing she was talking about.
if I start crying, I'm going to lose it. Like, I've been trying to train and cut weight and everything. She's like, no, you probably made it. Mind you, we were in the car. She's trying to teach me how to gleek, because everyone's like, if you spit, I'm like, I haven't drank anything. I can't spit. I don't know how to gleek. I'm in the car looking like an idiot, like trying to gleek. I don't know. And so,
Norm, do you know what gleeking is?
No, can somebody please explain this to me?
What is it? For the layperson, what is a gleek?
What is a gleek?
apparently
Gleeking.
you like put your tongue on the roof of your mouth or something, or underneath, and then it like shoots spit out.
Norm, you have some salivary glands under your tongue. And when you move your tongue across the salivary glands, it pushes out saliva. I learned this as a child. We used to gleek in each other in math class.
Okay, I think
The
my
thing.
cousin gleeked on me one time. Now it makes sense. Javi, shout out. Okay, continue.
I just never heard of it in this context of using it to cut weight.
No, never either.
So we were in my car.
That's
with
great
the
feedback.
heat.
Have you tried gleeking? I heard it's effective.
So my coaches were like, spit. And I'm like hanging out of my little car trying to spit. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, I can't spit. I haven't drank anything. So then when my husband says they're all in the bullpen, I'm like, okay. So we're walking in and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to make it. Like, I don't even feel like I lost any sweat. I mean, I was dying, but I get my gi on. I yell at my husband to get me my ID, because you're supposed to have an ID when you weigh in. And you're weighing in right before you're up. Like, you don't have much time. And so I jump on the scale and the guy goes, wow, you really made it, like right on the dot. And I was like, what? He's like 152.6. I was like, holy shit. And he like looked at me and started laughing. I'm like, I gotta fucking go. And I like grab my stuff and I'm like running down to the mat. I'm like, how? Exactly 152.6. And in my head, I'm like, maybe if I like take something off, it'll drop those few ounces. I don't know.
It's all the gleeking you did.
That I tried to do.
You're a master gleeker. Now, Norm, that's a hashtag. We need to gleek. Hashtag gleek.
Yeah, that's a new one.
It's definitely not I couldn't do it.
Wow.
I was watching YouTube videos trying to figure out how to do it.
See, I haven't heard that word seriously since I was in grade school, but I knew what it was. I'm gonna like look at social media tonight and look up gleeking and see if it's like a thing. It's probably like, you got to check it out. You might be good at it, Norm.
Just spit on everyone.
Just start. Look what I can do.
Hey, everyone, what's your hidden talent? I'm a good gleeker. So let me ask you this question. All this talk about weight cutting, because with everything you talked about, you sound pretty like your kids say badass, like kind of superhuman in some ways, you know, to someone watching. Wow, you can do all that. You're human. You probably have a guilty pleasure. Like, what's your guilty pleasure food? Like, for me, there's this pizza place where I grew up that if it's in front of me, it's a problem, right? For you, like, what is it like if it's the day before weight cut and you're driving past this place, it's going to be a problem.
I just want a bagel.
Just a particular bagel from somewhere like Dunkin' Donuts or just a bagel. Bagel is your thing.
After every competition.
What's on the bagel? Just
cream cheese. Plain bagel, plain cream cheese.
Wow. Is that what you eat right after when you?
After
after
I'm
you
done
win?
competing, we
Just
stop and we get one, yes.
Okay.
Bagel cream cheese.
Norm, what's yours, man?
Everything. I love food. I really love food.
Anything. You don't have like one
Anything.
thing, but like, man, it's a problem any day of the week.
No, if it smells good, it's a problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bagel and cream cheese. I can see that.
Bagel and cream cheese.
It's pretty dope. Is it toasted or no?
Yes, always.
Hmm.
It's so bad. When we started this 6-week challenge at the gym, and I was like, I just want a bagel. And my friend's like, what? I'm like, a bagel, like just a friggin' bagel.
And that's not even that bad because I'm waiting to be like, all right, so I'm with this triple chili fried dog with extra cheese and I want a bagel and cream cheese. Hey,
Every time.
If that's your jam, that's cool. Do you? So let me ask you kind of a serious question. Do you miss the old you at all?
Not at all.
You don't miss the long nails and the
fur.
The fur.
So my lifting and Muay Thai coach, he said to me, you finally know how strong you really are. Like I went through this last fight that any sane human would just be like, I'm done. And nope. I just kept going. Did I think 5 years ago or even 3 years ago I would do it? Maybe I want to, but did I think I would actually be able to? No.
Wow. You sound so confident of that. Do you find it hard sometimes to hear other people when they kind of complain or, talk about things being difficult?
It irritates me.
I would imagine too, right? So like, yeah, I could relate to that where it's like when you've been through stuff and you know what someone is capable of, right? You like things you thought were impossible, you've done. And you hear someone else who is going through something that on the outside seems like it's this big and they're just playing victim. It
makes me crazy.
Do you try to help or do you just say, look, that's their battle? Or do you are you the type to?
I feel like it doesn't matter what you say to somebody with that mindset. They have that mindset.
They just have to decide.
Sit there and tell them, and at the end of the day, they're still going to believe what they're telling themselves.
So, so we talked, bringing it back, because I remember you said you started doing like keto and got on that plan to start to eat better, and around the same time jiu-jitsu, but you had already made the decision to not kind of be a victim of your circumstance. So that had already kind of happened. That made it easier for you, right? Mm-hmm. You had to be ready. So people just have to be ready.
If you don't want to do it, it's not going to happen. Like, for instance, my coach at RoseFit, he has told me for, God, I don't know how long, the whole time I've been there, he's like, you can eat healthy, have your cheat meals, and still walk at the weight you want. Have I listened to him? No. I've been in the same spot where I have to go from 160 pounds down to 150. And it's now where I'm finally seeing like, it's not worth it to keep, I get 10 steps forward and then I take 50 back. And that's on me. I have to be at the point where I'm tired of starting over. And it's like anything else in life. Until you're ready to do something different, you're not going to. You can sit there and say that you're going to. You're going to sit there and have somebody tell you what you should and shouldn't do. And it's not going to make a difference until you come to terms with that.
I feel like we've come full circle from when we started the podcast today, and you had talked about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to get to a certain level of being uncomfortable where you're tired of it. And then you work to try to be comfortable, but being okay being uncomfortable. Because then you reach your goal, right? And then you force yourself to get into the next uncomfortable level to grow, right? Some people like get to a level, man, I've lost this weight, or I've placed in this competition, so now I'm done. And there's some people that do that. And if that you were that person, you would have got one medal and been done, right? But you said, okay, now what? You elected to be uncomfortable again. Like who decides to be uncomfortable? Most people don't. Like if I'm cold, I put a jacket on. If I'm hot, I go in air conditioning. If I'm hungry, I eat. We're not uncomfortable anymore. But you're the type that, like you said, being uncomfortable. You're like going to sign up for the next competition. I broke my nose. Okay. I'm injured. Okay. I'm going to be there tomorrow. I think that's just sums up everything, man.
Yeah, what would be your advice? Somebody watching this thinking that they could possibly do what you're doing. What would be your advice?
You can do anything that you want to do. And you're going to have people who hate on you, who tell you you're insane. You're going to have people who don't support you at all. And then you're going to have the few people that stuck with you the entire time and keep pushing you. And it's only you that can make it happen. You can't depend on other people. But sky's the limit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think also having a good community, it sounds like you got a great circle around you that are positive, that seem like they have the same type of values system that you do. You know, you got your family, you know, that's super your home team.
I'm crazy.
Yeah, but I think it's a good crazy. And let's be honest, I mean, we're all a little crazy. Some people are better at hiding it than others. If they all knew how crazy we really were, we're doing this damn podcast.
True.
Although I don't know, I think with the hair, you're giving it away a little bit, man, especially yours, man. I think you're.
It's all right. Self-expression.
It's all good. Express yourself.
Yeah, you're next.
I'm telling you, do it. I'm out of here. We're gonna show up and then how about this? We'll do that. We'll. I gotta ask you this question. I forgot to ask this one as we're wrapping up here. Have you rolled with a black belt?
I have.
How was that experience?
You realize how much you really need to work on.
Because it's levels, right? There's levels to this stuff, right? So what's the difference in white belt to black belt? I mean, black belt is mastery level of.
There's always learning. Raphael always says that. You're always a student. Doesn't matter how high up you are. You're still learning. And when you work with a higher belt, regardless if it's a few stripes more than you or a whole belt or few belts, you're going to see the holes in your game. They're going to be
exposed.
So I always say, like, when I roll with our head coach, he's a brown belt. He's been training for a long time. And I always like, you're 20 steps ahead of me already. Like, you already know where I'm going. And,
he knows your move before you do it.
Mm-hmm. But then you find where you need to work on things. Because at the end of the day, you walk in a competition and, yeah, the person might be wearing a blue belt with no stripes, but might have technique like a purple belt. So when you roll with somebody who's a higher belt, you're finding all the little holes. You're seeing what's going to work and what doesn't. And they have an answer to your moves, especially black belts. Like, you think, oh, I'm going to get this, and you don't. And if you get it, 90% of the time, they're letting you.
Wow.
Maybe even 99%. They're letting you so they can work on a position on their own.
Trying to fill their holes.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
I'm definitely going there, bro. Check it out.
I'm challenging a black belt.
Not a black belt. I'm not stupid. I'm not trying to. Because also, too, I bet you there are people that go in there cocky and think they're going to roll people and maybe get too aggressive, and then you have to get checked. Because let's be honest, there's an element of it. It is still, I wouldn't say flat out fighting, right? But there's aggression.
No, but it's mano a mano.
There's aggression, and people have days where, like, hey man, you sunk that choke in a little too tight. Hey man, you knee barred me, and we don't do that here, or something, or what's like an ankle lock where you can blow someone's knee out or something, right? Like, if you go too hard with that stuff, you can really hurt people, right?
There's definitely that goes on. They get put in check.
I can imagine. See, we're gonna get put in check. Chill out, Bino.
I'm not gonna go in there all hard, but we're big guys, so like maybe they'll be like, "This guy's gonna come in here."
Wait till I'm healed so that I can
be
there.
All right, you got it. We're gonna roll deep with her. We're gonna be like, "Hey, just so you know, we're cool.
She's our bodyguard.
We don't mean no harm to anybody. Be gentle." It's good stuff, bro.
So, Kris, appreciate you coming. I know it was this is the first time you ever do something like this, right?
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I was sweating a little bit before I got here.
It's cool. It's because I didn't turn on the AC. But.
I was like, I don't know what I'm going into.
But honestly, I think you could do this 100 times because, like, everything we asked you, you didn't have to think about the answer. Like, you're living the shit.
Yeah.
Like seriously, you're not like, you can tell when you talk to people and they're kind of like fake, like what's the right thing to say? You're just saying what you're doing. Like there's no just instant answer. Like, okay, there's that, you know, like you're living it. So mad props.
Thanks.
Yeah. We're going to keep up with you and your journey. We're going to make sure we keep up with you and check in on the Vegas trip. That's huge. Come back with another medal.
That's the plan.
Awesome. Let us know when your comps are. We'll come. Are you allowed to cheer on, or is it quiet there? I've never been to a jiu-jitsu competition.
People are yelling.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I did it the first time I went. I was just watching. I didn't know what was like okay and that, but we're gonna be cheering.
Cool. Yeah.
Acting stupid.
Awesome. Maybe after this you have a lot more fans.
We'll see. If not,
you can find
I got
her at
my kids.
Kris. What's your Instagram?
I think it's Kris_Dorus.
But Kris with a K. Kris.
Kris. Cool Chris's.
There's more than one. They exist.
Because
No.
we're the best.
Really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. It's been awesome.
We're back. We did another episode. Corey wasn't here. He'll be fine. He'll be back next time. Bino, appreciate you so much
Thanks for
stopping
having
by,
me, man.
being a part of this.
Awesome experience, man. Thanks.
You're
brother.
a natural.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you
Works.
again.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks
Super
again.
badass. Hold
Yeah.
up the medals. Damn,
These
loud
things are
as
heavy.
fuck,
These are
dude.
like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's some heavy hardware.
Yeah.
Badass. And it's a rock on your finger.
Yep, I got lucky.
He's a good guy. Really nice guy. I got to meet him
Really
at the
good
last one.
guy. Your spouse should be your biggest fan. If he's not, get rid of him.
Well, also too, he knows you'll choke the shit out of him too. That's the like, you better buy him that ring.
That motherfucker's
You know, there's
small.
been a couple times like, "Ooh, we're gonna get them dishes done. I ain't gonna say it twice.
Well,
You saw what happened yesterday, right?
we out.